Hello and welcome to Spotlight in Bensenville. My name is Frank DeSimone, Village President and your host for this episode. Today we'll be discussing the work of local government with our guest, Evan Summers, Village Manager. Evan, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here again, Mayor.
So, let's just jump right into taxes. When should I expect to receive my DuPage County property tax bill?
So tax bills come out twice a year, come out in 2 installments. The next installment coming up is April 30th. So we've got a few months until they come out. But April 30th is when they're going to be mailed out, and they'll hit mailbox. They'll hit your mailbox shortly thereafter.
And when are they due?
The first installment is due June 1st, and the second one is September 1st.
Now, so when I'm in the Jewel and I get approached by some of our residents, they kind of say, you raised my taxes. I mean, tell us, how are the property tax bills, how is the amount determined?
Yeah, so the property tax bill is one bill, but it's representing the tax levies of numerous different government agencies. So while the Village of Bensenville is one of those agencies, there's other ones, everyone from DuPage County, both Bensenville school districts are on there, our park district, our library district, the DuPage County Forest Preserve is on there. Even the DuPage County Airport all the way out in West Chicago that I've never been to, I don't know if you've ever been there, that's on our tax bill. So it's one tax bill for numerous levels of government.
And my tax bill is probably around maybe $70, we'll just say $7,800. What part of that $7,800 is the Village of Bensenville's tax? What do we get out of that?
So that $700 to $800, so your tax bill is about $7,000, about $700, 10% of that comes back to the village. The vast majority of your tax bill is education. It's not just at one school district, it's both school districts, College of DuPage is on there. So that's about 70% of the tax bill. The village is about 10%. The fire district is around 10%, and the other ones make up the remainder.
I looked at my tax bill from year to year. I think the village's portion I paid from, I want to say, was the previous 2 years, $24 more, I think I paid from year to year.
That sounds about right. Under your leadership, one of our prerogatives is to try to regulate what we can on our portion of that bill. We can't tell other taxing bodies what to do, but definitely we want to control what's within our span of control, and that's our target is to raise property taxes no more than 2%, usually 1%. We got away with a couple of 0% there. That's difficult to do. I gotta say, as a city manager, it's difficult to do that because we know things are getting more expensive.
Correct.
So the only way we can manage around that is if property tax bills grow at 1%, we've got to create efficiencies elsewhere. That involves growing the tax base and then also creating those efficiencies operationally.
Let's talk a little bit about tax levy. Who sets each taxing body's tax levy?
Every single taxing body has the right, authority, and responsibility to set their own tax rate. So the elected people on your ballots are the ones that are setting your taxes for the year.
How can residents find out a little bit more about the local government and their various taxing bodies?
First off, I love talking about local government and taxing, so give me a call. I'll talk your ear off about tax policy. It's great. If you don't want to talk to me, and I get it, head over to our website, bensenville.il.us, and there's information in our transparency section about where your money is being spent for the village portion.
I know we have a couple more questions. We need to take a quick break. Hope you can hang out with us.
100%, going nowhere.
We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Your community water system is responsible for supplying safe drinking water. After the water is treated, it's delivered to you through a network of pipes called the Water Distribution System. This piping system supplies your home with clean water. A property's water service line connects to the village's water distribution. The water service can contain many different parts and materials. Maintaining a water service is a shared responsibility. The village maintains the service from the water main to the B-box. The homeowner maintains the service line from the B-box to the house. New Illinois and federal regulations require communities to identify the materials of every water service line. As a property owner, you can assist by identifying your water service line material as it enters your home and reporting the material back to your community. There are 2 easy tests you could do at home if you believe you have either galvanized steel or a lead water service line. First is a scratch test. Taking a quarter or a screwdriver, scratch a portion of the pipe. If the scraped area remains a dull gray color, the pipe is made of galvanized steel. If the scraped area is a shiny silver and flakes off, your pipe is made of lead. Second test is the magnet test. A magnet will not stick to a PVC, copper, or lead pipe. However, galvanized steel is slightly magnetic. If a magnet does stick to the pipe, it is galvanized steel. Once you identify your water service line material as it enters your home, you should contact your community water service system to learn about the next steps and resources that may be available to you.
Hi there. I want to take you on a journey through a community powered by C-Click Fix. Here, internal operations are streamlined with more intuitive, secure workflows and communications. Here, let me show you how it all works. C-Click Fix organizes, tracks, and manages service requests from everyday citizens through a single application. When they see a problem, a few clicks is all it takes to send off a service request. From there, the right people get the request and get to work. All communication and task management is seamlessly coordinated through the app. Citizens can see the work being done and even receive a follow-up message when the work is completed. It's a team effort all around, and you have the data you need to make better decisions. Cities large and small use C-Click Fix to accomplish more for their citizens with the staff, time, and budget they've already got. Get started today.
Hello, welcome back to Spotlight in Bensenville. My name is Frank DeSimone, Village President and your host for this episode. Today we will be discussing the work of local government with our guest, Evan Summers, Village Manager. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
So our last segment, we talked about how the village gets 10% of the tax bill.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that 10%, what do our residents get for? What do we get for that 10%?
I think that's a great question to ask, and I'll actually defend the value of these taxes. I think it's a great value, and we work really hard to deliver value to our residents because the level of service for that 10%. So if you are paying between $5,000 or $7,000, so $500 and $700 a year to the village and property taxes, you get an amazing service of the Bensenville Police Department, which is we always have sworn police officers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, every holiday. We've got Bensenville sworn, highly trained police officers at your service a call away. We also have our Public Works Department, which is out there right now plowing snow. They're delivering clean water, they're fixing potholes, trimming trees. You also have our special events that are going on that are almost exclusively free to our residents to come to any of our special events. That's being paid for with those property taxes. So for $500 to $700 a year, it's an incredible value. We really try to punch up in the level of service that we offer our residents. I don't think many towns deliver the services that we can deliver for the price that we charge.
The senior snowplow is part of that. Senior grass crowding. It's all part of that.
Yep, the operations. Our village hall staff is here to take your call every day of the week. They're being paid out of those property taxes. So I always say that we have three things that we always must deliver, and that's we need to arrest the bad guys, deliver clean water, and keep the streets clear. And that's what we focus on first and foremost. Everything else is additional, but it's still a great value for those property taxes. We try to stretch every dollar like it's our own.
Absolutely. So how can this be that each taxing body sets its own levy limits? The Village of Bensenville and the other taxing bodies are in the village limits.
For sure, and it's a complicated question. These are separately elected boards. They're completely independent. And yes, we get along great with our other elected officials, but they're independent. They have a responsibility to set their own tax levy. So the school boards, I know, spends a lot of time working on their budget and setting that tax levy, just like we spend a lot of time working on ours. But we're independent. The school board doesn't tell us what to do with our tax policy, and we don't tell the school board what to do with their taxes.
I know we've slimmed down. We're lean, as you like to say it. We've gotten as lean as we can be, and we're still surviving to keep the tax dollar amount as low as possible.
We're living within our means.
Correct.
We know times are tight out there, and so we are responsive to that. And if when times are tight, and we've got to slim down like everybody else does. So we do a good job with that. I'm proud of that. I'll defend the level of service that we're providing to our residents for what we charge.
And on top of that, on top of running the village, we're also paying down old debt.
Absolutely. Our predecessors, our forefathers that came before us, they spent money, and a lot of that was debt finance, and they built some beautiful things with it. There's no question about it, but that's often issued as 20-year debt. So the expenses that were made 20 years ago are being paid off to this day. And we're really trying to get ahead of that. We know that making debt service payments reduces the amount of free cash flow that we have in our budget. That was a big thing that you ran on and you implemented on day one, is whenever possible, we're going to pay down that debt. And we've done a good job at that. To see our debt service payments, they're going down, and every year we're getting more free cash flow to make those optimized things we were talking about before, so we don't have to rely on property tax increases.
What if another taxing body is in debt and needs help? Can we loan them money?
We can't just, unfortunately, we have separate budgets. We can't just give them our credit card, so to speak, and say you can spend our money. So no, it's their responsibility that every taxing body must live within their own means. And I think we've got some great professionals out there that are really doing a good job running those taxing bodies, but it's their responsibility. We're in charge of our budget, they're in charge of their budget.
Let's talk a little bit about spending taxpayers' money. So we plan it out in our budget talks, right?
Yep.
So we lay out what we have, what we got coming in, what we got going out, and it's discussed in the budget talk. So we know what we're going to spend throughout the year besides emergencies, right? What unforeseen circumstances. So we discuss it, we go through a bunch of days in that, and we set that budget, correct?
Oh yeah.
And then every board meeting comes up, we vote on those things that were discussed in the budget to approve at those board meetings.
State law only allows us to spend money that's been budgeted for.
Correct.
So the budget, if you look at anyone's budget, you can see where their priorities lie. And so we spend a lot of time on crafting our budget, and it's a lot of late night phone calls, I know, between you and me doing that. I know you're calling the trustees, I'm calling the trustees individually and getting their input on any new initiative that we're taking on. But we really set our priorities for the year in that annual budget process that starts in the third, fourth quarter of each year.
And probably a good chunk of percentage of that budget is no-brainers. You have to buy police cars.
Yep.
You have to buy dump trucks. You have to buy things which are the only thing we kind of work on is getting the best deal, which is difficult to do nowadays. We always talk about and joke about sludge. You have to remove sludge.
Right.
I mean, that stuff is all picked out and paid for in that budget. So when it comes to the time to vote on it, we're in our means, correct?
100%, and that's a great point, is we know what police officers cost, and we sign collective bargaining agreements that are usually 4 years out, so we can really plan ahead for what things are going to cost based on our employment contracts. The same thing goes with our capital improvement. We plan out 5 years ahead of time of where we're going to be spending our money. All the residents can see that. It's on our website, so they know that this year these roads are being paved, next year those roads are being paved, this year we're buying this many cars, this next year we're buying so many new Vectors or backhoes or whatever it be.
Correct.
All of our capital expenses are 5 years ahead. Our labor agreements are as far out as we can take them. So there's very little discretionary year-to-year stuff that we have to focus on.
And we save money every year, because if you look at it, if per contract, say Public Works gets a 3% raise and we only raise taxes 1%, we still have to save money to cover that 2%.
You and I have had long conversations on that, yes.
Because I won't let you raise it.
You won't let me raise them, so we've got to find other ways to do it. And we've done a great job on that. We've talked about this in previous shows, how economic development works, but the way we can get more money out of property taxes without raising property taxes is to grow that tax base. So recruit new businesses to town to help support us. That's how we're able to essentially freeze what we're charging our residents.
And I know you talked about one thing, the development up on 83 and Devon, the warehouse spaces. You told me those 4 buildings were the equivalent of raising taxes on the residents 4%.
4 to 5% when they come online. And that's me being conservative. I'm always conservative when I tell you these things, but that's the beauty of economic development. That's why I'm so passionate about economic development, is those new businesses are basically foregoing any property tax increases that we're going to go to our residents for, because it's going to be new money coming to us without having to go into our residents' pockets.
It's always a good thing.
That's a beautiful thing to do.
Can the village tell any taxing body what to do?
We can't. We just have no authority to do that. Everyone is individual organizations. They've got their own elected boards, their own board presidents, their own board members, their own executive directors or superintendents, or for us, a village manager, completely separate. Not to say we don't talk to them. We get along great with them. I work with my counterparts in the taxing bodies on a regular basis. We're always a phone call away. So we get along great, but we like to respect the sovereignty, the independence of their organization. So, nope, our job is to run the city, and that's what we're going to do. Our job's not to run the schools. We're not going to do that.
Is an intergovernmental agreement, or we call it an IGA, is that a contract?
IGAs are contracts, and we've used those in the past to support each other. I'm just trying to think off the top of my
The
head.
police officers in the schools. That's
Right,
an IGA.
exactly. So having our school resource officers, our sworn police officers, their Village of Bensenville police officers in the school, supporting the school district, it's a great arrangement because the school district helps pay for the salary and benefits. So that's an IGA that is a mutual benefit to everybody, from the officer to the village to the school, keeps our kids safe. It's a great program, and it's been successful. We've been running that for over a decade.
How can residents find out more about the local government and various taxing bodies?
Head on over to our website. It's all right there. I also, if you want to get really into the weeds of it, the DuPage County Assessor goes into where your taxes are going and how much tax levies are going to be. You can click your property, you can even click your neighbor's property and see what they're paying in taxes to make sure everyone's being fair.
And if you have any questions about Bensenville taxes on our end, Evan and I, our doors are always open. Come see us, make a phone call, set up an appointment, whatever you got to do, we'll be happy to explain it to you. Thank you for coming on the show, joining us on this show. Thank you for explaining a lot about the taxing bodies.
Love talking about taxing.
And thank you for joining us. And be sure to tune in next week for more Spotlight on Bensenville.